Hey guys, how's it going? My name is Tom Spark. Welcome back to my recessionist content. If you guys are interested, check out recessionistpro.com. This is my paid dashboard where you can see how I predict the recession, when I think it's going to happen, forecast models, all sorts of different cool charts and live data updated all the time. You can see how the performance of my base case is done when compared to other stocks and stuff like that. So check out recessionistpro.com. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and start off with the topic of this video. Why did the altcoin season never start? Now, if you look at the charts out there, you could look at anything. Let's take Cardano for an example. If you look at it, the performance has been awful this last year. And this is supposed to be during the most profitable time for altcoin season. Let's take example 2020 to 2021, where what the last altcoin season cycle was, according to the Bitcoin 4-year cycle, and you can see the parabolic growth of some of these altcoins like Cardano. However, if you look at this cycle, they never even got back to their previous all-time highs, didn't double or anything, barely even touched the amount of gains that we did last cycle, which is pretty unusual because you'd think that these coins would get bigger and bigger, as we saw with this one to this one. This one should have been just as big as this one is to this one, maybe not as much so because of diminishing returns, but honestly, I would have expected Cardano to get around $4 to $5 if the pattern played out similarly. But everyone's wondering, why didn't that happen? I think it's pretty easy to say now that it probably won't happen, even though you still see some hopium channels out there. So why didn't it happen? Well, we did see Bitcoin do pretty good this cycle. It went up by a factor of around 2, which is pretty good for how big things are. This is the last cycle, and as you can see, it doubled it pretty much almost exactly. Well, it did pretty much exactly double. It got around 60K and it went to around 120K. So it pretty much doubled it exactly. That's what we should have seen, maybe from altcoins 3 to 4x, but that never happened. So why is it? Well, there's a lot of different theories out there, and I'll kind of disprove which ones I don't think are true. One of them is that there's simply too many altcoins, and I don't think that's necessarily true. Back in 2020, 2021, there's a lot of altcoins as well. Now, there's certainly more now, but I still think there was a lot back then as well. So I don't think that is necessarily the answer. Another theory is that the ETFs are sucking up all the liquidity. I don't think that's necessarily true either, because Ethereum has had an ETF even before this bullish period right here, or right here. It had an ETF kind of around this period of time where it did start going up. But if it had an ETF and was supposed to suck up all the liquidity, why did it barely even get past all-time highs? It didn't really double, triple, or anything like that like you'd commonly expect. So I don't really think that theory is true either. One other theory is that institutions only buy Bitcoin. Now, this could be partially true. I think institutions really just kind of wanted to buy Bitcoin. Stuff like MicroStrategy, a couple other ones, really did start buying a lot of Bitcoin. So that is why we saw it go up as kind of an investment in this cycle and Trump pump and dumping it. But I don't think that's directly related to why people didn't buy altcoins. Because if people are buying Bitcoin, you'd think it would kind of cycle down. Well, corporations might not do that. So that's a little bit of a hint. But here's what I actually believe is happening this cycle. Why didn't altcoin season happen? Well, altcoin cycles and seasons, I primarily believe, are dominated by retail interest. People diving in, just the basic people like me or you, buying up these coins and make them go crazy. Kind of like what happens with GameStop and those kind of stocks as well. So corporations, I don't think, have as much interest in that kind of risky investing. So that's part of the reason. However, I think the core reason is that retail simply has no money. And when I'm talking about this, I don't mean not less money, not being cautious. They literally don't have the income to speculate on altcoins. And I think that's going to be very apparent as we head into a recession soon, maybe next year, according to our model. And this is kind of the key thing that I think people are not thinking about. People just don't have money. Let's compare it to the last cycle, 2020. Government was pouring trillions into the economy to stimulate it. People got like $2,000 check. They put that into altcoins. Not only that, but back then interest rates were pretty much at zero. So there's pretty much free money if you wanted to get it. Not only that, but companies were hiring like crazy. Remote work was booming and tech jobs were booming. And this is the primary audience who likes to buy crypto. So it's the perfect storm for that season of cryptocurrency, as we saw back then. Look at Ethereum's growth. It went from pretty much $226 all the way up to $2,800. So it did like a 10x multiplier. That's pretty crazy. But all of those kind of factors are not a thing anymore. There's not been any stimulus checks this cycle. Inflation is high. Interest rates are high. Instead of more jobs happening, these tech companies are actually firing people. A lot of other jobs are becoming automated by AI, so there's less jobs overall. Student loan payments resumed. Rent and groceries cost more now because of inflation. Pandemic savings are kind of destroyed. So hiring freezes are happening. So all these things have contributed to the perfect storm of there being no altcoin season. I think the altcoin season not happening is actually a precursor to the recession. People are going to look back and say, you know, we probably should have saw the recession coming. Altcoins never went crazy. That's a good indicator of what is happening. And I think that's what's happening right now. Job openings are still plummeting. Hiring rates are collapsing. We're still missing 2 months of data that I think we're going to get like maybe 1 month of data in a couple of days. We'll have to see how bad the jobs are. I had this secret theory. I was like, you know, I can't get access to the job data right now from the Fed, but maybe if I go on a state-by-state basis. So then I researched which states have the best kind of accurate hiring data, that being California. And then I looked into it. California's not releasing their job information until January. So we're not even going to know the most profitable state in the United States, what the jobs look like till January. So that just goes to show you what kind of situation we're here, what kind of data blackout situation we're in here. So what does it mean overall? Well, I don't think altcoin season's happening. If you look at Ethereum, it's kind of topped out at near all-time highs. But if we look at other ones like Cardano, it kind of shit the bucket. Not only that, but I've noticed some other things going on lately. You know, if you're someone who's a Charles Hoskinson fan or something like that, you might look at something like the new Project Midnight and say, hey, you know, this is a product that it's just like they had the fundamentals and they've been building it, so on and so on. But look at these charts here. It just kind of went up, it pumped, it dumped, pumped, and now it's dumping again. You know, why do they need to make a different coin when they already have Cardano? It's probably some technical reason, of course. But honestly, my opinion is that they knew altcoin season was not coming for Cardano. They wanted to make some quick cash. So they pumped this out really quickly to make some quick cash before the bear market comes back for crypto. That's my theory anyways. Anyway, guys, let me know what you thought of this video, and I'll see you again in the next one very soon. Check out Recessionist Pro if you like my insights. I'll see you again soon.